Hello guys, meet again with Queen MMA. The UFC is without a doubt the biggest MMA promoter in the world. The UFC is no longer just a sporting event, but has become an entertainment stage with fantastic benefits. No doubt UFC fighters, no matter newcomers or legends of all time, must be decorated with fame, money, or madness in the octagon. In short, these fighters are always side by side with various temptations that often come to the stars. And here are some of the fighters who have tarnished their careers beyond repair. But before we continue, please press the subscribe button and activate the bell for those who haven't, so as not to miss the latest update from Queen MMA. 1. Wanderley Silva. Wanderley Silva is an MMA fighter originally from Brazil, and he is of Brazilian-American descent. Prior to his UFC career, Silva was a Pride Fighting Championships fighter. Wanderley Silva has an aggressive fighting style rooted in street fighting, plus elements of Muay Thai and Kickboxing that he acquired when he was 13 years old. At Pride, no one has matched or surpassed the records he has earned, namely, most wins, knockouts, retaining titles and longest winning streak in history. Silva is a former Pride middleweight champion and the 2003 Pride middleweight Grand Prix tournament champion. After several losses at Pride, he finally decided to join the UFC. But unfortunately, his debut in the UFC had a bad record when he met the popular UFC fighter, Chuck Liddell. Wanderley Silva lost via unanimous decision in his 3-round battle. In the next 8 fights, Silva only bagged 4 wins, until finally he was scheduled to fight with Chael Sonnen. In this meeting, Silva suffered a major blow in his life when he was involved in a drug test controversy before the fight. Previously, the fight had been postponed several times because Silva was injured. However, when he got ready for a match for UFC 175, it was discovered that Silva had always avoided taking random drug tests that were conducted before the competition. Long story short, Wanderley Silva opened the door when the team came to his house for a drug test. However, Silva escaped through the side door of his house, to which Dana White later stated that it was the worst thing he could do. The Nevada State Athletic Commission later banned it for life, though the decision was rejected, and pending another trial for a suitable sentence. Maybe the punishment is not as severe as a life ban, and Silva can still continue his career. But Silva chose to push the nuclear button and accused the promoters of organizing the game and molesting athletes. 2016, Silva issued an apology and was released from his UFC contract. Two. Chael Sonnen. Chael Patrick Sonnen, or Chael Sonnen, is an American former MMA fighter who is currently an MMA analyst. Sonnen started his MMA career in 1997. He competed in the UFC and is a top contender in the lightweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight divisions in the UFC. Apart from the UFC, Sonnen has also competed for WEC, Pancrase, and Bellator MMA. Sonnen is often regarded as one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time, but has never won a title fight in the UFC in a total of 3 title fight matches. At UFC, Sonnen has a record of 29-15-1. Sonnen once challenged the living legend of the UFC, Anderson Silva. Sonnen appeared to dominate the fight with his wrestling in the title race, UFC 117, Silva vs. Sonnen. Towards the 5th round, Sonnen excelled in the jury's assessment. But at 3:10 seconds into the final round, the Spider managed to catch Sonnen with an armbar triangle and make him tap out. In the interview, Sonnen said that it was the choke, not the armbar, that made him tap out. The fight earned both fighters the Fight of the Night award and is considered the best fight of the year by many observers. Even the fight was later awarded Fight of the Year by the World MMA Awards. Sometime later, the team found that testosterone levels were very high at the time of the fight. At that time Sonnen had a ratio of 16:9:1, while for normal humans it was usually 1:1, and the testing body could allow a 4:1 ratio for athletes in treatment. It earned him a suspension of 1 year and a fine of $2,500, but in the end the suspension was reduced by 5 months. Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen finally met for the second time, and the fight was almost the same as the previous meeting, where Sonnen dominated the first round and lost to technical knockout in the second round. Sonnen was finally slated with Wanderley Silva at UFC 173, which will take place on May 24, 2014. This is something of an irony, because a few weeks earlier Sonnen had mocked his opponent for escaping a drug test. However, what was found on Sonnen's body was a mobile pharmacy containing HGH, EPO, HCG, and anastrozole in his body, resulting in him being slapped and suspended for 2 years. Sonnen had received a steroid suspension before, but this was a major blow to his career and resulted in him being dismissed from the UFC and Fox. Sonnen announced his retirement afterwards, and he stated he had no intention of fighting again. Three. Ricimer Palhares. Ricimer Palhares is a Brazilian MMA artist known for his strong ground playing. Of his 15 submission wins, 11 of them have come from foot locks, namely heel hooks. Heel hook is an ankle lock, by rotating the ankle joint with a crank on the heel. The result of this lockdown is excruciating pain, where victims of this lockdown may experience drug dependence because of the pain they suffer. Too bad, it's a shame that Palhares has a bad habit of not wanting to let go of his very destructive and painful grip. This is the character that got him into trouble even before he entered the UFC. This habit also earned him a 90-day suspension when he ignored the frantic tap-outs from Thomas Drwal and the referee who told him to stop while competing at UFC 111 in 2010. Then he got another suspension in 2013 for increased testosterone levels. And he went back to his bad habit of making Mike Pierce suffer after he held his heel hook for a few seconds, ignoring the referee's stoppage. The UFC's patience finally ran out, and he was dismissed from promotion the next day. Amazingly, Palhares still hasn't recovered from his bad habit of being suspended for 2 years in 2015. When he endured the Kimura lockdown for too long against Jake Shields at WSOF. Four. Mirko Cro Cop. Mirko Cro Cop has the real name Mirko Filipovic, who is a retired professional MMA artist from Croatia. Mirko Cro Cop has fought in UFC, K1, Rizin, and Bellator. Widely recognized as one of the kickboxer heavyweights and the greatest MMA fighter of all time. Mirko Cro Cop has a very deadly kick, both right and left. Many depict the right foot kick to the hospital and the left foot to the grave. After starting his career in the UFC disappointingly, he finally returned to the UFC a few years later to make up for the defeat. 4 of his 8 fights at UFC he has won. 3 of them by knockout and 1 of them by submission. He was even able to avenge the famous defeat of Gabriel Gonzaga. He was 41 at the time, and if he decided to retire then, his reputation would remain intact. Unfortunately, he received an offer for the main card with Anthony Hamilton while in South Korea. 2 weeks before the fight, Cro Cop underwent tests from USADA. USADA is the agency that randomly undergoes doping tests to ensure athletes stay clean and can compete in the UFC. That day he contacted the UFC and admitted that he had used the banned drug HGH in what was claimed to be an attempt to help heal a shoulder injury. A few days later, he made the same confession on his own website and announced that he was retiring from the sport. Although Cro Cop's cessation was still suspended for 2 years, it was a sad ending to the career of one of Pride's greatest fighters. Five. Stephan Bonnar. Stephan Bonnar is an American fighter and competes in the light heavyweight division in the UFC. Bonnar was runner-up in the Ultimate Fighter 1, and he lost in the tough finale against Forrest Griffin, and his fight is considered one of the most important fights in UFC history. In most of his fights, Bonnar was in the underdog position. For example, against Anderson Silva at UFC 153, there were also fights with world champions Lyoto Machida, Tito Ortiz, Mark Coleman, John Jones, and Rashid Evans. Stephan Bonnar's record in his professional MMA career is 15-9-9. However, his UFC career and friendship with Dana White was tarnished when he tested positive for steroids following his match with Anderson Silva at UFC 153 in October 2013. Bonnar, who was fighting with Anderson Silva at that time, suffered a knockout technical defeat in the first round, tested positive for drostanolone. This is the second time Bonnar has been caught using banned steroids in his professional career. At that time, Dana White, who has a close relationship with Bonnar, was angry because Bonnar's lies resulted in the breakdown of communication between them. Bonnar eventually retired shortly after, as did his analyst role with Fox, which abruptly ended. Despite his tarnished retirement, Bonnar was controversially inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame alongside TUF 1 finalist Forrest Griffin in 2013. So, those are the UFC fighters who ended their careers in disgrace. Who do you think is another MMA fighter besides the UFC fighter whose career ended on a bad note? Share your opinion in the comments column, and don't forget to like and share, subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the latest updates from Queen MMA. Thanks for watching, see you in another video. See ya.